Okay, hey, let me introduce this gentleman that's sitting in front of me. This is Rob Machado, world famous surfer, Encinitas local, San Diego legend, worldwide legend. However, you are not an Encinitas born and raised, are you? Why don't you tell us where you were originally born, Rob?
You are correct, Sean. I was born in Sydney, Australia. Same hospital as Barton Lynch, 1988 world champ. Manly Hospital. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years before I moved to Encinitas.
I heard when you got here, your parents were a little concerned because you had the Aussie accent.
I did.
So how did just by chance you lose it, or?
Yeah, it was. I think I showed up at school, and having the last name Machado, having an Australian accent, they were a little confused. They were kind of like, wait, where did this kid come from?
Yeah. So how long have you been in Encinitas? How long is your family came here? How long have you been in the Encinitas area?
Well, we moved here, it was 1978, I believe. But our family history goes back way beyond that in Southern California.
Yeah, because your mom still lives here.
My mom still lives here, yeah. My great-great-great-grandfather migrated here from Mexico in the early 1800s.
Really? Wow, that's really cool to hear that. So as a young kid coming to Southern California, was surfing your first love, or did you have other sports that you liked?
You know what? I'd say I started out in soccer. I played soccer, I played baseball, I played basketball, and surfing naturally just kind of was included in that. That was like the summertime activity. And then I think by the time I was right around 11 is when all the other sports kind of got left behind and surfing felt more important. There was one key moment, and I had soccer practice, and I decided to scrap soccer practice to go surfing, and I was running down to the beach from my parents' house, and I ran past my soccer coach driving to soccer practice. And I locked eyes with him, and I was just like, that's it. And my parents were kind of like, hey, if you're going to commit, I finished the season, and then that was it. I just felt like surfing was more important to me at that point.
So you hung the sign, gone surfing, and that's what you've done your whole life.
That's it.
That's it. So, we're in Cardiff by the Sea, incorporated into parts of Encinitas, this is being the southern end. What is it about Encinitas that keeps Rob Machado coming back to be in this surf spot? Because you surfed around the world, obviously. What makes Encinitas so special for you? I've just been drawn here. I think family, first and foremost. My brother lives next door, my mom's up the street, my aunt, my cousins, everyone's here, and that kind of was the original draw. I thought about it. I thought about living in Hawaii, Indonesia, Australia, all these different places, and I've gone there and I've spent big chunks of time, and there's still a draw. Like, I still go back and visit these places, but I don't know, man. There's just something really unique and special about this place, San Diego in general, and Encinitas even more so. It's got just a great little nucleus of activity. There's great surf. There's lots of options to surf. There's great food. There's good people. Everyone's active. It's just a really beautiful little community. So you mentioned great surf, and I was just talking in the water yesterday about how San Diego's so blessed to have so many surf spots in such a tight area, 70 miles of coastline. They call the North Shore the 7-mile miracle. Yeah. Well, you could say San Diego's that 70-mile miracle because we have way more surf spots. Where is Rob Machado's favorite spot to just paddle out when he wants to go surfing?
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say Seaside. It's right down the street, probably less than a mile. Sometimes I just paddle there. I live right in front of Cardiff Reef. That's another very easy, accessible option. But I always joke with my friends that I really don't venture out more than a mile from my house. If I go a mile that way, it's Swamis. I grew up surfing Swamis and all the ways around Swamis.
Boneyards.
Yeah, boneyards, dabbers.
the little in-between weird stretch between Swamis and Pipes, and there's all those little nooks and crannies and cracks and crevices in between that have who knows how many names, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of like my stomping grounds as a teenager. We just go figure out like what tide was good and this little crack and crevice, you know, and it was fun. So I got my old van. It goes a mile. It's got a mile radius. That's it. That's all I got.
So, you know, you've got your family here. You got your great surf spots. There's something about North County that attracts a certain type of people. Talk to me about the people that are up around here and that you not work, but mingle with or associate with, whether it be people you know or just people on the street. Tell me about the people and what makes them a little bit different North County people.
I think people really prioritize health. I mean, if you've chosen to live in San Diego, that's the first step, especially somewhere like Encinitas, right? You're choosing to be in a very user-friendly environment, right? We got good temperatures year-round, and because of that, you're seeing people running up and down PCH. You're seeing strollers. You're seeing people, you know, playing tennis down at the park. I mean, there's so much activity, and people are just very health conscious. And because of that, you get good restaurants. People want to have good food if they're taking care of, you know. So it's like the idea of being surrounded by people that are taking care of themselves, that's contagious.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, you
totally
see people doing things and you're like, yeah, all right, let's go. Like, and you're getting invited to do things. Let's go play this or do that, you know. That's awesome energy to be around.
Yeah, and you know, the thing, there seems to be a group of very talented people in San Diego. One of them would be Taylor Steele. You've done a lot of work with him. You know, why don't you tell me about working with Taylor and what that is like?
Yeah, well, Taylor and I grew up surfing Seaside. Taylor was on the other side of the lagoon over there. He was a Torrey Pines kid. So we were kind of rivals in that sense. I was San Diego, he was Torrey Pines, but our common ground was Seaside. And we would go down there, and when we were young, Taylor would bring his video camera and he would set it up on the beach, and we would take turns filming each other.
Oh.
You would do 20-minute sessions, and it was like you were out, he was out, we had another guy, and we would just kind of loop back and forth. And there was something really great about being able to see yourself surf.
Yeah.
You know, up until that point, a lot of surf movies and films, it was all shot on film, a lot of 16 millimeter. So someone's not going to come down to Seaside and shoot a roll of 16 millimeter just so you can see yourself surf. But when the video camera came in, that gave us so much more access to be able to watch ourselves and learn. And Taylor kind of he took a video class in high school, and his project was to make a surf movie. That was what he chose, his project. So we worked together and filmed for a year, and he filmed everyone at Seaside. It was called Seaside and Beyond. And it was like, this is really cool. Like, he produced this amazing flick. And from there, I started dragging him on surf trips. I took him to Mexico the first time, Puerto Escondido, and it was like, you name it, everyone. Kelly, Shane, Ross, Pat O'Connell, Taylor Knox, Brock Little, Todd you know, like all these guys are all down there, and I brought Taylor along. Hey, this is Taylor. He's gonna stand on the beach and film all your waves. Everyone's like instant best friends. You know, it was like
Kodak courage, right?
It was just like, man, you're gonna stand there and film us, like, so. And then fast forward, you know, 20 plus surf movies later. I mean, we've been working together for too many years to count.
Yeah.
And it's been a beautiful relationship, traveling all over the world and just finding good waves and filming.
You've done other movies other than surf movies, like, you know, soul surf movies. You did what, an animated movie, Surf's Up. You played yourself and did the voiceover. What was that like?
The best surf movie ever made. Come on, let's be real.
And then how about this? You wrote and were in a movie called The Drifter with Corky Carroll. The Drifter. I was in The Drifter.
Well, so tell me about The Drifter. You wrote and you were in this movie. What was that movie about?
Yeah, The Drifter. So, you know, we just spoke about Taylor Steele. Taylor Steele at that time was living in Indonesia, in Bali. And he invited me over to come stay, so I went. And just after being there for a month, he said, man, why don't you come and spend some more time here, and we'll just follow you around Indonesia and see what happens. And we did. I spent a good part of 6 months, 9 months there, and we chased swells to all these outer islands, all these spots, and with a film crew and the whole deal, and all the different wild adventures along the way. You know, we struck out, we'd get skunked, and it was all kind of part of the process. And so we made a film, called it The Drifter, because I was drifting.
And you were introducing people to different things around the world and that lifestyle. One of the things that is, I think, when I think about you, is your competitive career. As far as San Diegans are concerned, you're the only Pipeline Masters winner. I mean, talk to me about surfing that wave and what that was like in winning that event. Because that's considered like the wave, the contest of all.
Yeah, and I will say that was the pinnacle of my competitive surfing career, for sure. I won, I don't know how many events when I was on tour, but that is the one that stands out the most for me. Because Pipeline, to me as a kid, was it was terrifying. To look at photos of Jerry Lopez that I had on my wall, and just thinking like, I mean, I honestly thought I will never ride a wave like that. Like looking at these Jerry standing in this 10 to 12 foot perfect tube at Pipeline, I was like, no way. Like I was scared to surf Swamis, you know? I would sit on the inside at Swamis. I never even went to the outside. So to go to Hawaii and be confronted with this crazy wave called Pipeline, man, it took a lot of time and effort to understand it, learn it, like take your poundings, you know, and it's not an easy lineup to catch waves. You don't just go out there and, oh, here's some practice runs, you know, like, no, that's not the case. Yeah. So you got to go out there and earn your stripes and take off on the crappy ones and take your beatings, and eventually you're going to maybe get a good one. So, I mean, I put my time in. I was spending a lot of extra time in Hawaii, you know, just committing to that wave and putting myself out there regardless. If it was 2 foot or if it's 15 foot, I would go out. Sometimes I wouldn't even catch a wave. I just wanted to be out there and feel it and see it. Watch the guys who were masters, the Derek Hoes, the Mike Hoes, the Tom Carrolls. Watch those guys and just learn, right? And it all kind of came to fruition, you know, in 2000, when everything, you know, the waves, the stars, everything aligned. It was a beautiful day, really west swell. It was, you know.
The swell was pumping too.
Pumping.
It was firing.
It was actually, when we woke up that morning, it was too big. It was, you know, people paddle out in the dark there, and everybody was sitting on the second reef. It was washing through. It was, but they knew the swell was going to kind of diminish throughout the day. So it would take a few hours, and I had first heat of the day, and I had to paddle out, and you're always like kind of the guinea pig, and like, do I go sit out on second reef, or do I sit in between? Like, because if you sit out on the first reef, then you kind of got to dodge and weave. Like, you could get washed. If you get caught by a second reef set, you end up back on the beach. Then you got to do a whole loop around, you know? So it was like this cat and mouse, and I made it through that first heat, and then by the time I surfed my second heat against Andy Irons, it had dropped enough where it wasn't breaking on the second reef anymore, but it was just really stacking up on the first reef, and it was flawless conditions. And
yeah, looking at those waves.
Yeah, and then it just kind of lined up the rest of the day to be just a beautiful day.
So, in another, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you also were the U.S. Open Surfing Championship, were you not, earlier on in your career? Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
So tell me how that helped you become confident of that, being a competitor and competing against on that world stage.
So yeah, you know, Huntington Beach is quite the scenic location for Southern California surf contests, right? You've got the pier, and you think back to the old OP pros, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know. There's a lot of people on the beach, and it really feels like that arena amphitheater vibe. And I started surfing in the OP Junior events there in the late '80s. The first one I surfed against Mr. Kelly Slater, who ended up beating me in that one. But fast forward, I won in 1995. I beat Kelly at the U.S. Open, which was a feather in my cap. But, you know, we surfed all these amateur events. It kind of geared us up for these big events that happen there now. And the U.S. Open was always a big one. You felt like you were in your hometown.
Yeah.
A lot of times I would sleep here. I would just drive up every day. I enjoyed the hour-plus drive, just listen to some tunes, get into my flow, find my zone, surf a heat, come home.
There you go.
I'd rather sleep in my own bed than some hotel. So I ended up winning the U.S. Open 3 times, 95, 2001, and 2006.
Wow. And we just recently had Levi Slauson win. And he said to me over the phone when I talked to him, yeah, Rob's has been my idol growing up.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel to know that a Encinitas guy just won and says you're his idol?
Yeah.
Because we're both, I'm a lot older than you, but you're older than Levi, so we're both getting older. How does it make you feel to be now inspiration for that next generation?
Yeah, man, that was it was amazing to see him win. Like the surfing that he did at that event was so on point, and I've watched him come up as a kid at Seaside, and I watched him push and put in the work, and to get to that place to win the U.S. Open, you know, it really I see it as a huge catapult for his career. Yeah. And if I have been an inspiration for him, like, thank you. Like, I mean, to watch what he was doing, I mean, I definitely didn't inspire his air game, because his air game is on point. Yeah. But there was a couple rides during that event that were just impeccable. So well ridden, and just the way he navigated the lineup and found the right waves. And it's a tricky spot to surf. You have to be, your game has to be on point. And he was, you know, I take my hat off to him. He was just really dialed in with the whole environment. I mean, there's a lot going on, and to stay focused and to see all his hard work pay off was really cool to see.
Yeah, and you know, and when I introduced you, I said world famous Rob Machado, and I don't say that lightly or to try to, you know, build you up. I don't have to do that, because you were inducted into the Surfing Walk of Fame in 2011. What I mean, you know, you go from being this Grom surfing, you know, NSSA events and looking at Jerry on the Wall, and suddenly there I am. It's like the Talking Heads song. How did I get here? Right. This isn't my beautiful life. You know, I mean, what does that make you feel like when you're an inspiration for the current U.S. Open Surfing Championship, and, you know, you were inducted into the Walk of Fame in surfing? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is it like, do you feel like, I don't know, tell me how you feel about that.
How did I get here? Yeah. I know. Hey, I pinch myself all the time, right? I mean, even like getting invited to go and throw out the first pitch at a Padre game. I'm like, you're standing out on the mound, like, what the heck? How did I get here, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here I was as a kid, just following my heart and doing something I love to do. And I'm not going to say it was easy, you know. I put in all the work and I did my time, and there was highs and there was lows. And you got to battle through them, and you learn from both. And, you know, to
have the career that I had.
Continue to have.
You know, I still serve. I don't compete, but let's say competitive career that I have. Yeah, I worked hard for it, and you know, I've been recognized for it. It feels great. It feels amazing.
And you know what's inspiring for me, and then hopefully for others, is that you don't take that for granted, and you continue to give back through your work volunteering for environmental causes and the Rob Machado Foundation. Talk to me a little bit about who you help carry along, and then also your foundation.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I was in high school, we used to meet right here in this parking lot for Surf PE. And we were one of the first classes to do, I think it was called the Clean Water Task Force. And we would go and sample, get these little tubes, and just take samples so that they could test the water quality here at Cardiff. And they started doing that up and down the coast just so they had, you know, a baseline.
Yep.
So, look, I've been a fan of Surfrider, what they do. Any way I can help them out, I have for a long time. The Challenged Athletes Foundation, CAF, it's been amazing. My good friend Jesse Billauer has a project, They Will Surf Again. I helped him get back in the water after a spinal cord injury. I don't know, there's so many beautiful organizations that are helping people get into the ocean because it's so refreshing, and it just makes people, it's so healing. I guess that's a better word, right?
Totally.
It is just so healing. I always tell my son, I'm like, go in the ocean. You'll feel better.
Yeah.
Every time you come out of the ocean, you just feel better.
Because there's energy in that water.
There is good things, the salt, the energy, just there's something about it.
Yeah.
And so I started my own foundation in 2004 to provide environmental education for kids. And we started right here at Cardiff School. We started a recycling program. We started a gardening program, and then eventually led to installing water refill stations
I saw that.
into the schools. Because I went to one of the campuses and I'm like, no way, it's the same drinking fountain as when I went here, you know? And I laughed, and I went to take a drink and the kids like shrieked. They were like, oh, don't do that. And I'm like, oh, you guys don't drink out of these? And they're like, no. And I looked around, every kid had a plastic water bottle.
Yep.
And I went, okay, that needs to change. So the idea was like, let's try and get every kid a reusable water bottle, and let's install a good source of drinking water.
Filtered water.
Filtered water so that they can come every day and refill it. So that was the goal, that's what we did, and it's been amazing. We've been working with San Diego Unified School District to reach schools all over San Diego.
Wow, that's a great thing. You know, helping kids understand that quality water is good for them, but then not using plastic bottles that end up becoming microplastics. So you're educating them without them even knowing it.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. You know, one thing that kind of is cool about you is, like you said, you started out as a soccer player. But, you know, the surf isn't good all the time, right? Yeah. So you're a golfer too, right?
I have dabbled in golf. Yes, sir.
So let me ask Rob Machado, how hard is golf, Rob?
Golf will drive you absolutely bonkers, you know? And I think we all go through those like learning curves, right? And, you know, when you first start playing golf, you see these chunks of improvement, you get better, and then there's plateaus and it drives you nuts. There's probably even some down cycles, and I just came to realize that I don't need to take it that serious.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ever be a pro golfer. Like, it's more about the people I'm playing with, right? I'm only going to go play golf with people that I want to hang out, spend
a good chunk of time with.
At least 2.5,
Right?
3 hours.
And
yeah.
if I hit a couple good shots, if I make a par or birdie, like, hallelujah.
There you go.
Great.
You know, people think of Rob Machado as this great surfer, which obviously you are. See, agreed. You're a musician. Tell me about how surfing and music work for you.
Oh, man. Well, like you were just saying, the waves aren't good all the time. And I found myself traveling around the world with a lot of downtime. And if I couldn't find a golf course, it was always nice to have a guitar. So I would either just go buy a guitar anywhere I was, or I would bring one with me, because airports are great to have a guitar. And I just started strumming guitars, man, from an early age. And that's led to some pretty amazing places. I've been on stage with Pearl Jam and Ben Harper and Jack Johnson. They're all really good friends of mine, and amazing musicians. I've never, I think surfing was still always a priority to me, but it's been fun being surrounded by incredible musicians and be able to sit in and jam with them.
That would be fun. And you mentioned Jack Johnson. You're working kind of with Jack, aren't you? You were talking downstairs about a movie that's coming out.
Correct. Yeah.
So tell me about that real briefly.
So, gosh, I want to say it was probably almost 20 years ago. We worked on a few different movie projects, one being Thicker Than Water and one called September Sessions. And those films were never released digitally. They only existed on VHS and maybe DVD. So we're kind of redigitizing them, and they're going to be released here in the next couple of months. So I think Jack is going to be touring and putting those films out. I'm not sure when or where, but it'll be cool. I think I'm going to be traveling along and being a part of it. I think there's going to be an extra film that's going to be part of that as well, kind of showcasing Jack's history with filmmaking into his musical career. Because when he was making those films, he wasn't a musician yet, and it's a kind of an interesting story.
That is. Yeah. What a trip. How that evolved into music.
Yeah.
And so what's up with your surfboard shaping?
Oh, man. I love creating. It's one of those creative outlets that's just always been, it's been very intriguing to me from an early age as a surfer. I was originally sponsored by Greg Sarich, who's a local shaper around here, and his shaping room was in my backyard. So I could literally, when I was 12, 13 years old, I'd just peek my head in the door and watch him shape. And that evolved into being sponsored by Channel Islands and working with Al Merrick. So I would go up to Santa Barbara and watch Al shape, and I was just absorbing. And it was around that time that I started kind of playing around. I'm gonna shape my own board.
Yeah.
And it just like one turned into 2, turned into 10, and make one for a friend, and it's really become a big part of my life. I love just the evolution of surfing and surfboards and the feeling of building your own board. It's like there's this I don't know, there's something about it. You make something yourself and you're connected to it.
Yeah, and then you not only get to look at it, but you get to go utilize it. Yeah. So you get to see, did my vision work? Is it going to work on those waves? So
you immediately, you have this vision or feeling, whatever it is, you pour it into the shape, and then you get it, and you can go ride it and get that translation, that feeling right out of it right away.
So I know that you're a very busy guy, and I want to really thank you for taking the time to talk to us and sharing your interests as well as your love of this part of San Diego, Encinitas. It's been great talking to you, and we really look forward to seeing you on the airwaves. Thanks,
awesome,
Rob.
Man. Thank you.